Hi everyone, I welcome you to a new session with me today. And in today's session, we're going to discuss about the fundamentals of karma. All right, and we're going to do that by first defining what karma is, and then we're going to look at a few characteristics of karma, and then to make sense of all the definitions and the discussions, I'm going to actually give you a sort of scenario where it shows you how a person can act and how he or she can do that in different ways, and which way of acting is actually the best way to act in a very uh, conscious and aware way, and actually act and not react based on impulses. And that's actually the key to getting out of the karmic cycle. So we're going to explore that through a case study as well, which I think is very important to understand instead of just theorizing about it. All right. So if we if you try to define what karma is, by definition, karma means an action, a deed. Okay, so it's the act of doing something. Now, in terms of rebirth theory, um, all the things we've done in a previous lifetime influences our current lifetime. So right now, me speaking to you about spirituality is actually the fruit of all the previous lives I've had, where I've evolved and actually I'm now more inclined towards spirituality. All right. So the current lifetime is a consequence of all the previous lifetimes, not just what we did in this lifetime. And this could potentially also explain why when babies are born, they are actually born with their own personalities, own characteristics, because they've actually lived different lifetimes and they've developed in different ways. So this is why when a baby is born, the baby is born with his or her own characteristics, all right? So that's one thing. So karma can be actually described as the memory of the soul. Okay, so the memory of all the previous lifetimes. So that can be a possible definition of it. All right. Now, what are the characteristics of karma in general, which is very important to know, because when you understand the characteristics of karma, it helps you to actually understand life in a very different way. All right. And what are they? Mm, so the first one, which is very obvious, is that you are what you do. All right. So whatever you've done, whether it is in this lifetime or in a previous lifetime, whatever you've done actually creates you. So once again, right now, me talking to you about spirituality, me being a meditation teacher, is actually the consequence of me teaching meditation for a very long time. So anything we do in real life, anything we are representing right now is actually a consequence of whatever we've been doing. Now, why is this very important? It's because we may have a strong belief system, all right? So we may believe in certain things, but we actually don't act as per our beliefs. So in that sense, it doesn't create the desired outcome. So the action is actually more important than the belief. The belief is important, but if you actually believe in certain things, but you don't act on those things, I mean, it doesn't create an outcome, all right? As simple as that. So it's very nice to actually talk about spirituality, theorize it, debate it with people, but if you're actually not acting as per the principles, as per the things you believe in, you never end up becoming a spiritual person, as simple as that. So what's more important than theorizing, discussing, planning is actually doing the thing. It's doing action, 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 action. So that's the most important part. Okay. So we are what we do. That's one of the characteristics of karma. A second one would be that roles interchange between lifetimes, meaning through different lifetimes, roles of people interchange, gender change, roles change, and everything changes. And these changes are important because these changes enable you to evolve more. So the soul changes body, but it needs to keep learning, it needs to keep evolving. So this is why the challenges you have in the current lifetime and the gender you have, the family you've got, all of these are important for the evolution of the soul. So this is why even rules interchange. So in that sense, since rules always change, it's very important to understand that all the people you're meeting in this current lifetime, everyone's from the teacher you had, the friends you have, your spouse, your wife, the person who sells newspaper to you, the person you meet on the street, every single person you meet in this lifetime have a connection with you from previous lifetime. So meeting someone in this lifetime is not a fluke, okay? So in that sense, if you really understand that in a very fundamental way, it means that all the people you have in your life right now, you need to treat all of them with the same attention, with the same awareness, with the same respect, and with the same love. Okay, because all these people have been in your life, so you've always known them. And this is why sometimes when you meet someone, let's say you just meet someone and you feel like a deep connection to the person, even if you've met the person just recently. And this is also why within a few weeks or within a few months, you can get really close to someone. And actually you could spend 13 years knowing someone else, and you actually can't even get very close to the other person. And it's all because of that, because you have a kind of karmic bond to the person. And this is why you can actually, you can actually feel that you're very close to the person. You can actually share lots of things, and you actually feel love, and it's automatic, and you just don't quite know why it is like that, but it's just like this. It's because of the karmic bond. So once you understand that, you will no longer be surprised that you actually feel attracted to some people who you hardly know. And in the same way, it works the other way around. You may feel a certain sort of repulsion towards some people without no reason. Without anyone speaking to you or telling you something, you don't feel like actually talking to that person. So it's all because of that karmic bond. It's because you've known these people before and possibly they did something to you. That's why you don't want to talk to them. Or maybe you've been very close to that person, and this is why you feel drawn to actually talk to the person every day, to send a message, have a discussion. And when you talk to that person, you can actually go, you can talk for hours. So it's all about karmic bond. So it's very important to understand that each person in our life right now has been in our lives before also. All right. So that's a second characteristic. And the third one is actually quite simple. It's just that it's actually similar to the first one, which tells you that you are what you do. And in terms of deeds, in terms of actions, if you do actions with a pure intention, then it creates the best outcomes. If you do an action and behind that action you actually have greed, selfishness, and then that usually doesn't produce a good outcome. So that's just an extension of the first notion we discussed. Another possible characteristic which is important for you to know is that karma doesn't have an expiration date, meaning if you did something, it's going to come back to you. Even if it's not this lifetime, it's not the next one, it's not the next 3 months, it's going to come back to you. And if you try to do an action and you kind of hide and do the action so that no one knows you did that bad action, it's still going to come back to you. So it's not about people knowing or not knowing, it's about the action itself. And that's why the intent is very important. And it's the first thing you need to keep in mind, the intent behind doing the action. And we're actually going to break up that process in a few seconds. All right. So if I try to just summarize what we discussed, we said that we are what we do, roles interchange, and karma has no expiration date. Okay, so these are the things we've discussed till now. All right. Now, how do we get out of the karmic cycle? All right. The only way we can get out of the karmic cycle is actually when we stop acting in a way which will create a consequence. So what does that mean? Does it mean not acting, not doing anything? It actually, I mean, the way out is actually to act and not react. Usually, let's say something happens to us, we always react, and that ends up becoming the action. So let's say someone comes and try to verbally insult you, you're going to have a reaction, you're going to do something. But by actually doing something, by actually having a reaction, you're creating another karma, meaning you're doing something, so that's going to come back to you again. So how do we really tackle it, and what's the best way of handling these situations? To explain to you what acting and reacting and what's the difference between those two, I'm going to give you, we're going to talk about a given scenario, all right? So let's say we have a person, okay? Let's say we have a person who we're going to call Greg, okay? So Greg works in a finance institution where he handles the funds of different people, and he handles the funds of rich people, all right? And he actually has the possibility to steal money or take out money and put in his own account, let's say, all right? So in scenario one, what happens is Greg is tempted to actually steal money from the accounts he's handling, all right? And why is he tempted? He's tempted because he thinks that it's not fair he doesn't have a wealthy lifestyle while those people actually have a lot of money. So he's handling the accounts of, let's say, the top 5% richest people in the country, all right? So he's handling their accounts, and he is very tempted to actually take money out of their accounts. So in scenario one, he actually goes and talk about that to his friends, and his friends they encourage him to actually steal the money, all right? So he thinks it's okay to actually go and steal money because my friend said it's fine, all right? So he uses that support from his friends to actually steal money and put in his account. Financially, he becomes more wealthy, okay? He has more money now, and he does that a few times. So over the years, he ends up becoming more wealthy, all right? But what happens is he develops a lot of stress as well, mental stress, because he's stealing money and he can't sleep well during the night, and mentally he's very stressed. He's scared that someone may catch him, and after a few years they actually do catch him and they put him in prison, all right? So that's scenario one. So even if he was enjoying more money during the first few years, he was still suffering, okay? So in that example, karma actually acted maybe in a very subtle way, because when he was stealing money, mentally he was very stressed. So that was his karmic load. He was doing something wrong and he was suffering in that way because he was very stressed, all right? And then he actually went to the prison also. So that was a continuation of the karma, all right? Now, in scenario two, what happens is we still have the same person. We have Greg, all right? And Greg is still tempted to steal money. He goes and talks to his friends, and they tell him, no, it's not a good thing to do, all right? It's not the right thing to do. You shouldn't be doing that. But he's still tempted to do that, to take the money out of the funds, and he still does it. So he takes the money out of the funds, he puts in his own account, but he feels so bad after doing it. he feels so bad, he can't sleep, and he starts to realize that he has done a very bad thing. So once he starts to realize this, what he does is that he starts to repent. Okay, he starts to repent because he knows that he's done something very bad, and he doesn't have he thinks it's not ideal to actually go and surrender himself to the police because he's got a family, he's got kids to feed. So instead of doing that, what he does is he repents. So he does a lot of good deeds. He goes out and help poor people. He gives a lot of charity. He tries to do the maximum with what he has, and he does that over the next few years till he lives, actually. Okay, so in scenario 2, the person is willingly doing something to counter the bad karma which the person generated before. So that's one way of balancing the scales. Okay, because karma is all about balancing the scales. So in scenario 2, he's able to do that. Okay, and in a very practical way, in fact. All right, good. Now, in the third scenario, he gets tempted to steal money. He talks to his friends. His friends advise him not to do it. He goes back home. He's still very tempted to do it, but he sits with his emotions, right? He sits with his emotions. He meditates on it, and then he waits for all the emotions to calm down. He waits for him to be grounded again, to feel very calm. And then he says that, okay, if I actually do that action, if I actually do steal money, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose my peace of mind. I'm going to have more money, yeah, but I'm going to lose my peace of mind. And what is the most important thing? It's peace of mind, it's being happy. So he has that realization, and then his action is actually not to do it. So he doesn't do it, and things are settled. He doesn't. He has the temptations. He processes the emotions, the feelings. He asks advice from a group of friends who are reliable. Okay, and then he doesn't take the action. So in the third scenario, he's actually acting after going through all the emotional turmoil and mixed emotion, mixed feelings, frustration, and all that. And he ends up living a very happy life after that. All right. So the third scenario was where he actually acted, and it was full control. Okay. We won't say that he was in full control. He felt nothing. It's just that he knew exactly when to take a step back, be grounded again, and then after that take 4 steps forward and actually act. Okay, and that's the escape from the karmic cycle. It's actually when you start to understand yourself, understand your feelings, your emotions, understand the world around you, be grounded, and actually act when you need to act and not just react. All right, so it's actually having one foot in the spiritual world, where you continuously have your practice where you make yourself grounded all the time, and then have also one foot where you actually need to live in the 3D physical world and actually do things. All right. So I hope that these scenarios help you actually put everything in a context where you can really understand how karma works and how you can actually act. All right. So if we break down the process, it all starts with intention. So you have an intention, and then you have action, you do something, and then you have outcome. So it is in 3 stages: intention, action, outcome. You may have all the right intent. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to become that kind of person. But if there's no action, there's no outcome. So intent is first, action is second. And action is very important. Okay? So positive affirmations are very good. Positive affirmations about changing your life. But if you only have positive affirmation, but you don't meditate, if you don't put it in practice, when you actually deal with people, you don't deal in a spiritual way, it's a waste of brain power to actually have positive affirmations, read spiritual books. It's useless if you're not putting the knowledge into practice. So intent and knowledge, vital, action, and then outcome. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, that's the structure: intention, action, outcome. But I mean, you can tell me that, okay, I have the right intent, I do the action, but I still don't get the outcome. Now, when does that happen? It happens if your current life is actually still being influenced by previous karma. Okay, that's one possibility. The second one is, when you're performing the action, are you really doing it 100%? And this is why in Buddhist practice, we put a lot of importance on the state of the mind when we are acting. And this brings into context the present moment, living fully in the present moment. So how much are you actually in the present moment when you're doing the action, all right? Are you really there and doing it with all your love, fully, with all your senses? Or are you actually doing something, but at the same time you're thinking, oh, I need to reply to that email, I need to send back that text? Or you're talking to a person and you're actually thinking about something else? So how much are you in the present moment? Okay, that's very important. So your current mental state while you're performing the action, that's very vital. All right. And this is why, once again, meditation, being very mindful, being grounded is very important. Because when you're very grounded, when you are in the moment, you're fully efficient. There's no mental block. You're getting full flow, full potential. And then when you're actually putting all your energy in the present moment, then the outcome is going to be very good. And hence the importance of mindfulness, the importance of meditation. All right. So I think we've talked a lot about karma. I think it's enough for you to understand the key things which are important about karma. I'm going to possibly talk about it again in the next few sessions, but talk about different aspects because it's so vast. You can actually talk about karmic debt, and the whole process of rebirth. I mean, choosing life themes, it's so vast. But today's session was something very practical and something which is very logical, which makes sense. And you don't really need to believe in rebirth to actually take the key information from today's session. All right. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to see you very soon. Bye-bye.